Welcome back to Callis Mindset with Callis, the podcast where we explore mindset, behaviors, and systems that build high-performing entrepreneurs and professionals. Today, I'm joined by Schenck. Derek is a real estate coach and mentor who has spent many years helping agents understand not just the tactics of real estate, but also the deeper drivers of success. Things like behavior patterns, personality traits, discipline and mental resilience, and mindset. Because the truth is, most people think success in real estate comes down to marketing, lead sources, or scripts. But the deeper reality is that success is often driven by how you think, how you behave daily, and the personality traits that you develop over time. And Derek's work focuses heavily on people who understand and develop those internal drivers of performance. So today we're going to do a deep dive into the psychology behind success in this industry. Derek, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, my friend. I'm excited to be on. So just be careful what you wish for, because I'm just going to give you what I got. So let's do this.
Perfect. We'll get started with your journey. How did you get into real estate and eventually into coaching?
Let's see. Real estate. I started real estate in 2005. So it's been a while. It's at 21 years. So 2005, 6, 7 were really easy. We were order takers for anybody who was back in that era. And then 08 happened. So 08 to 9 and 10, it sucked. I was in real estate. My wife was in title. So that was not a good combo. So those years were really, really, really tough years. So let's see, probably right around 2011 is when I joined a brokerage as a productivity coach. So I started as a productivity coach and an associate broker, backup broker. And you know what I found out really quick was I didn't like the broker piece. People who call the broker, they just call to complain. They have problems. So I really dove into the coaching piece. So I really started diving the coaching piece. And I think the first thing I got certified in was I became a John Maxwell certified coach and speaker, trainer. And then I started getting into NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And then I just kind of started growing. So throughout the real estate world, I became a national speaker, trainer, and coach. And I've been doing stuff on my own and for brokerages and industries across the country and internationally, actually. So it's just building and been building and building and building over the last 15 years. And I got a passion for it.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you went into that specific subvertical of real estate where I don't know very many people. I haven't met very many people that they got the opportunity to go into the mindset coaching, productivity coaching, behavior coaching, things like that. It's, most of the time you hear, oh, I was just an agent, I just started as an agent. And then from there, it changed. But how did you get that first opportunity as a productivity coach?
So as a productivity coach, it's just that you're helping people increase their productivity, which in a real estate brokerage, the brokerage gets a split. So if you help them produce more, it's good for the brokerage, right? It's a win-win for everybody. So initially it is, all right, let's go over the numbers. Let's go over the metrics, right? What is your goal? We reverse engineer it. How many, what's the volume? What's the units? How many appointments it's going to take? Let's talk about your conversion ratio. So how many connections to an appointment? How many appointments to a listing? How many listings to a closing? What's your conversion ratio? Everything else. So it's always working on numbers. And I love numbers, right? I love math. I love the numbers. I love crunching it. And yet the thing you learn as a coach, a true coach, not a mentor or group coaching, a true coach, one-on-one coaching, you get to see behind the curtain of what's really going on. And what you do in coaching, we talk about care and candor. And so care means I care about you. Candor means I care even more about you. So care, I'm going to give you a hug, but candor means I'm not going to hug you out of business. So you kind of get real and get right with people. And you get to see behind a curtain what's going on with their lives personally, what's happening with their health, what's happening with their finances, maybe it's what's happening with their marriage or with their kids, what's going on mentally, physically, emotionally, psychology, all these things. And so as a productivity coach, okay, you help these people as a business, get them to double their numbers. That's great. But what I found is it's not the marketing, it's not the social media, it's not this form, it's not this script that separated the good from the great. What separates the good from the great is the mindset. Now, 15 years ago, I thought that was fluffy hocus pocus, right? You just, by gosh, people like me and stuff like that. And so I poo-pooed it. But I've really, tried to focus on what's separating the good from the great over the years. And it's a mindset that if you're in real estate, the number one agent in your area is no better than anybody else. They just think differently than everybody else. If you do car sales, great. The number one person selling cars in your region is no better than anybody else. Go ahead, touch them. They're human. There's nothing special about them. They just think differently than everybody else. And, it takes work, right? It takes work sometimes, not to get too deep into it, but for some of us, it's easier than others. But we all get in a funk. And it's about when you get in that funk, what to do to get out of it. And if you can't get out of it, it's getting help. That may be a coach, it may be a counselor, but it's okay to ask for help. So once again, when you get to see behind the curtain, why did I dive more into the mindset and the behaviors? Because that is the true engine that's driving the production.
Yeah. Thanks for that explanation. And for anyone who isn't familiar with Derek, he also is one of the leaders at Amherst Madison Brokerage. That's where I have my license. It's the brokerage that I've committed to. And I've watched Derek teach, coach along the way since last summer when I joined, and from the launch class to just one-on-ones that we've had. And it's so valuable. And I think that a lot of people don't realize how beneficial and how much more you can do when you have someone to talk to, someone to bounce ideas off of, and someone to support you along the way. And I wanted to ask, what patterns have you seen among agents that you were coaching? From when you first started, what are some of the common patterns or, maybe mindset patterns that people get into that you pick up on?
Okay, well, the first thing I would say, a lot of real estate agents, even currently today, they believe that they have a lead generation issue. What I find is a lot of agents, it's not a lead generation issue. It's a follow-up issue, right? So if you're taking notes, write this down. The fortune is in the follow-up. So it's more about the follow-up. Number one, that just came to mind because I just got off a coaching call and that was his thing. The other thing I would say, we talk about behavior. So I'm a certified DISC behavioral specialist as well. And when it comes to behaviors, a lot of real estate agents are what we call high I's, very influential. And one of the benefits of high I's is they're people pleasers. They like talking and connecting with people. They're people pleasers, which is great for sales. But there's also one thing that the high I's fear is rejection. Number two, what they fear is rejection. It's the same thing. So when it comes to picking up the phone or even a video text or even a DM, the little voice in their head says, wow, what if I reach out and they say no? They're rejecting me personally. We've been friends since junior high and they're going to say no to me because I just want money and I just think of them as a closing, right? So people have that little voice inside their head. Now, when I was a kid, I had voices inside my head. I thought I was the only one who had voices inside their head. I thought if people could hear the voices in my head, they would run away from me. But this is what you learn from coaching. We all have it. We all have voices in our head. You talk to your best friend, a mentor of yours, they got voices too, right? And they don't go away. Once you accomplish something, they just change the conversation and start attacking you in a different way. So number one, you got to change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. Here's a couple things to think about. For an example, I know, Cannon, you're someone with a really big heart and you want to help people out. So what I would ask is, what I'd ask an agent is, hey, do you think there's some bad agents out there? And they would say, yes. I say, do you think there's a lot of bad agents out there? And they would say, yes. And I'd say, okay, there is somebody in your phone, in your data bank right now, data bank, that's what we call it in coaching, is your data bank. So there's someone in your phone, your data bank right now, who's thinking about getting into real estate. They don't know you're still an agent. So they're going to go online and they're going to end up with one of these bad agents who are going to turn and burn them and have a bad experience. Now, that agent, it's not their fault. A snake is a snake. So if someone you care about get turned and burned by somebody else, that's your fault. So instead of picking up the phone and saying, who am I going to close today? It is, who can I say from Bad Agent Bob today? So when you're saying, who can I help? Who can I say from Bad Agent Bob? It's a lot easier to pick up that phone, right? So that's one thing you have to think about is I'm calling to help, not close. The other would be old school. A lot of these courses, classes, podcasts, not yours, books, other things, they talk about the ABCs of sales, right? You all know the ABC of sales, and they say always be closing. That's old school sales. I want you to write this down. It is always be connecting, always be communicating, always be caring, always be coming from contribution. When you come from that way instead of the closing angle, the energy is totally different. It's a lot easier to do. So when you think of it differently of how I'm going to help and who am I reaching out and why am I doing it, it's a lot easier to pick up the phone and make it. So if you have the call reluctance, I get it. I go through it too. So you got to kind of trick your mind and come up with your own strategy to give yourself the energy to do it.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal explanation. So anyone who's listening, definitely take notes. I've taken pages and pages of notes from other times Derek has, presented in different scenarios. And I really think that it ties into the behaviors. So in the mindset too, if you create a new paradigm in your mind and you reframe it from something I have to do to it's an opportunity that I get to help someone, you're much more likely to make a call rather than feeling like you're forced to, or they're just going to think I'm something that I'm not, like you mentioned. And that kind of brings us to our next section. After this section, we're going to do a personality deep dive, but this first time I want to discuss a little bit more about behaviors. And so what is it that you see the top performing agents, what behaviors do you consistently see from them?
Commitment and consistency. Let's just I'll just stick with those two. It's commitment and consistency. So, people talk about, motivation. They say, hey, Derek, you're a coach, you're a motivational speaker. How do you motivate people? I don't motivate people. Motivation is a flash in the pan. Motivation is very temporary. It is that discipline that moves the needle. So number one, it's a commitment. It's not, some people set a goal. Oh, I have a goal to lose 10 pounds. I have a goal to get 10 listings. I have a goal for this. They hit it, great. If they don't, great. No, people who are committed to do it. And why are they committed to that 10 pounds or committed to that 10 listings? Because they know what it's going to do for them or their family or those around them. Sometimes we'll let ourselves off the hook, but I'm not gonna not hit the goal to help my child or my wife. So it is one, it's not just a haphazard goal, it's a true full-blown commitment. And the other is consistency. If you like it or not, right? Well, I just don't like lead generation. Well, you know what? If you're ever in sports, you don't like putting in the reps. You don't like, getting up at 4 to go to the gym at 0 hour, and you don't like to do that stuff, but you're willing to put it in to be able to play, right? You think it's hard practicing to play sports? Try sitting on the bench. That's harder, right? So here's the other thing. Probably a lot of this is for entrepreneurs out there, right? Think of the last 9-to-5 job you had. Think of the things that your boss made you do that you didn't like, but you did it. You did it for your job to help build their business and their career. So why would you not man up and do the things that you're uncomfortable with to build your career? So once again, it's kind of the perspective, and it's a reframing it as in, choose your heart. It is hard. Sometimes making a call, it's hard getting up. It's hard personal development and whenever you don't want to. But it's also hard not paying your bills. It's also hard your kids seeing you not living up to your full potential. So choose your heart. I'll stop there. I'll keep going.
No, that's great. That's fantastic. I have a lot of similar ideas and a similar mindset, and we'll talk about this in just a minute, but we both test in the same section of the DISC personality. Like our results are very similar. So that's probably why a lot of the things you say they hit home with me. And I think it is. It's choose your hard. It's, is it hard to make phone calls, or is it hard to lose your house because you can't pay for it and potentially lose your family and your wife? You know what I mean? Like, it could really get dark. And so the top performing agents are doing the right things consistently, and they care about it. And what about the ones who are struggling? What about the agents? What behaviors do you see from those?
Hmm. Let's see. That's a. I got to keep it clean. No. Great question. What I would say is they think as a victim. They live in victimhood and they live in scarcity. They say they think in their head, look at everything they're closing. Look what she's doing. Look what he's doing. Oh, the market's down or the market's flat. There's not enough to go around. That's a scarcity mindset. So, whoever you are, look at the sales that's going on in your industry, in your department, in your area, and you'll see there's thousands and thousands of transactions or things being sold. And it's like, how much of that do you want? So the ones who are struggling, they are in a victimhood mindset and a scarcity mindset. The ones who are succeeding, it's an abundance. They look at how much is out there and how much of it they want. And we all fall into the victimhood thing sometimes. I do too. I've been there. We're usually one of three places. We're either in survival, success, or significance. And sometimes when you're in survival, you can't look past tomorrow, right? So what I encourage those people to do, we've all been in a funk. And what I love about one-on-one coaching is it's very individualized. There may be a course out there or a book that says, hey, everybody, if you're in a funk, do these three things, you'll get out of it. Everybody's different. We're all different. It's not just behavioral styles, it's upbringing and culture and nationality. There's 1,000 different differences. So if you're struggling and you're in that funk, success leaves clues. I want you to think about a time in your past that you were in a funk before. You were in that funk, and what did you do that was successful to get you out of the funk in the past that you could duplicate again today? So for an example, not too long ago, I was in a funk of myself. And it's like, man, what was one of my best years ever? What was I consistently doing? What was the common denominator? And one thing I was doing was I was training for a marathon. So I was like running every day or every other day. And I was like reading every night. So I was, working out, running in the mornings. I was reading every night. Well, when I was in this funk, it's like, Derek, when's the last time you ran? And then, Derek, when's the last time you spent a night reading, right? Instead of doom scrolling or watching the same thing on Netflix you've watched 100 times. So it's like, okay, if you want something to change, we all know the definition of insanity, right? So you want something to change, do something different, what worked before. And I just started running I started running again. I started reading again, and things changed. It wasn't something dramatic and are expensive. They were both free. And I just started doing them again. And it took time. You believe in the system and things work themselves out. So that worked for me, but everybody, you got to figure out what works for you and reflect and find out what worked in the past and bring it back for you and all those around you.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone's different. Everyone is going through a different experience and a different story. Everyone's got their own problems and issues and reasons and excuses, but it is good sometimes to look back at a time where you were successful, feeling different, and implement some of the things you were doing, and then notice that things change. And it's almost like a recipe for success or a recipe for disaster. And sometimes you have to choose the ingredients you're using, right? And so that kind of leads me to, is there any habits that you've seen universally that separate professionals from amateurs?
Habits, couple different things. So I'm going to change things up. Everybody always talks about the miracle morning, right? About how to start your day. And I believe in what you do at the beginning of your day sets the tone for the rest of the day. And you have to figure out what works best for you. I believe that you need to do something physically in that first 30 minutes. You need to do something mentally for that first 30 minutes. So are you getting up and moving around? Are you reading something, or maybe listening to something positive? Because if you're just going straight into negative news or social media, and you're comparing yourself and you're feeling bad and everything else, what you're doing, that first part, sets a tone with the rest of the day. And I also believe what you do at the end of the day sets you up for success or failure for the beginning of the day. So I don't know, I find like 30-40% of people I work with, coach with, they struggle with sleep one way or another. And I won't go into, not only is sleep refreshing your body, but it has to reset your mind too. So not sleeping or sleeping very well has as much to do with your mindset as it does your physical body. And so what are you doing that last couple hours? Right? What are you doing? What are you eating or drinking the last couple hours? Blue light? Are you dealing with TV screens? What are you thinking right before you go to bed? And without getting into the RAS too deep, the RAS, your reticular activating system, is very powerful when you're falling asleep. So what are you thinking of when you fall asleep? You're going to keep thinking it all night long. So I think the habits of some of the most successful people is control that first hour, control that last hour, and then figure out what's the most important thing during the day and block that out. I call it a jam session. A 90-minute session is what I call a jam session. So every day, control that first hour, the last hour. You need to have that number one priority jam session during the day. So control the controllables. You're an entrepreneur, you're a husband, and you're a wife, you're a spouse, you're a leader, you're everything. So your day is going to be different every single day as an entrepreneur. And there's no such thing as work-life balance. It's work-life harmony. So every day you got to reflect of, control the first hour, that last hour. Here's another habit. I encourage everybody at the beginning of the day, you should do what we call a pre-flight checklist. So if you're a pilot before every flight, if they're a commercial, military pilot, private, they always do a pre-flight checklist, no matter what, to ensure they're going to get to where they want to go. You should spend at least 15 minutes in the morning, sit down, quiet place, no kids, no dog, no TV. And it's like, look at yesterday. What worked, what didn't work, what didn't get done. You look at the calendar today. Are my priorities in place? Are my big rocks in place? What should I say no to today? So control the first hour, that last hour, put in the big rocks, and you should do that pre-flight checklist every day to make sure you control the day instead of your email controlling the day.
Yeah. Having that self-discipline, the self-control to time block and prioritize the things that you know will set you up for success or will allow you to reflect and have that clarity to go into the next day. I write down everything I do every single day. And it's something as dumb as wake up. Like I write wake up. That's the first thing I do every day on my checklist. I don't need to write that down, but I write it down, and then it's, do my morning routine, which it's like I'm a very creature of habit. I will do the same thing almost every single day unless there's a reason for me not to be in that same schedule. But I plan my schedule accordingly so I can get things done, because I am an entrepreneur. I am in real estate. I do property management, and no day looks the same. And so I write it down every day. If I don't get something done that previous day, that goes to my next priority for that very next day. And so things are always getting done, and it's through controlling myself. I kind of have to do that because I know if I don't, who knows how my day is going to end up. I'm probably going to get nothing done, or I'll get a lot of things that I didn't mean to get done, and things I need to won't. And that kind of leads to my next topic. It's a personality deep dive. One of the most fascinating things about business and leadership to me is the personality frameworks. Things like the DISC assessment and other behavioral assessments that help people understand how they naturally operate, what they're inclined to naturally react or to communicate. And when people understand how they're wired, they can start building systems around their strengths and weaknesses. Let's go ahead and jump into the DISC stuff, because I know you're an expert at this.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So not only am I a certified specialist instructor, it's just something I love to do. I love diving into it. I know you've seen me do it before. And so, number one, when it comes to the DISC behaviors and their behaviors, it's not personalities. The DISC has been around for the longest. It's been around since like the 1920s. And there's all these other ones out there, but this one is the one that's been around the longest and most proven. And here's the three things about behavioral assessments and Myers-Briggs and all those others out there is it's about, number one, understanding yourself. It's understanding yourself. Number two, it's about understanding the other people's style. And number three, it's all about them. So it's about understanding you, understanding them. Number three, it's all about them. So many times this is just the way I am. This is just the way I am. Accept me, right? I don't connect with this person. We're never on the same page. Well, if you know me, I say this 1,000 times, is control the controllables. I cannot control what other people do, what they say, or how they think. I can control what I do, what I say, and how I think. So let's say, for an example, I'm more of a high D in that category, so it's a little more direct. And I believe, without my notes, the high Ds is only about 8% of the population in the United States. And so if I connect better with other high Ds, we just talk quick and fast and get to the point. I only connect with them, and I'm not connecting with all the others. 92% of the population I'm talking to, people who come to an open house, people I talk to at a seminar, people I talk to on the phone, I'm not connecting with. I can't blame all them. It's me. So it's about understanding some of the tells of pace and priority are the two easiest ones. D's and I's pace fast. The C's and S's are a little more moderate. I don't say slow. They don't like it when I say they're slow. They're more moderate, right? So the D's and C's are more on tasks, and the I's and S's are more about people. So if you can see what their priorities are and what their pace is, you can kind of slowly start figuring out what category they're in, and then what can I do to match and mirror. It's not mime, right? If they talk with an accent, don't try and talk with an accent. So it's match and mirror, not mime. So for an example, I'll use a relationship example. So if you ask me about my day, I will say, you know what? I had 4 coaching sessions, and I was interviewed on a great podcast today. My wife will ask me, how was your day? That's what I'll say. If I ask my wife, who's a high I, if I ask her about her day, it takes her 8 hours to explain a 6-hour day. I would save more time if I went to work with her. She'll tell me about her lunch and what Susie had for lunch and why she likes bologna. I don't care. So now we've been together over 30 years. So I explain my day in a sentence, and she explains her day in a book. Over time, I've had to go from a sentence into a paragraph, and she's gone from a book to a chapter. Now, we're still different, and that's okay. No style is better than any other style. And yet we've learned to get closer together because of our style. So I go a little longer. She's gotten a little shorter, and it's still different styles, but now we're more on the same page. So once again, whenever you study, these different styles and personalities and etc., no style is better than anybody else. It's just understanding you, accepting you, understanding other people, and accepting other people for who they are. And if you truly care about people, like I talked about, ABC, always be caring and communicating and connecting. How do you do that? Is understanding their style and adjusting to better connect with them.
Yeah, that's very accurate. And I think that anyone who's catching up who might not understand what a DISC assessment is, it's a questionnaire, it's a survey. You fill it out. Some companies do it, pre-interview, and try to get an idea of who this person is, how they, what their style is. And the DISC is D for dominance, I for influence, S for steadiness, and C for conscientiousness. And each of these, Derek does a deep dive that I've attended, and it was so insightful to understand. I've taken this test many times. I always end up in the D category, but that, like Derek said, is only 8% or less of the population. And so I don't want to exclude the 92%. So understanding the I, the S, and the C, how they communicate, their pacing, and also their fears, like rejection is for the influence one. Time for me, that's my biggest fear, is wasting and losing time. And that's the same for you, Derek. So it's cool to see that, our pacing is probably a bit faster than most people. Like, we can talk quick. I purposely have to remove myself sometimes and slow down because I can see the person I'm talking to is just glazing over. it's too much energy, it's too much information. And it's just been really insightful to learn about, myself and other people. And do you think that certain disc profiles naturally perform better in real estate, or is there a certain, percentage that most agents are?
So on paper, typically some of the more successful agents are high I's, or what we'd call IDs. So the very dominant high I, with the second is more of a D. So the high I's, why? Because once again, they're very much people pleasers, people connectors, usually a little bit more bubbly and social and optimistic, and their energy is kind of attractive, right? So typically, it's a little bit more of the high I's do better in sales. You like to see a little bit of D in there to where they're a little more proactive and getting stuff done. And with that caveat, number one, I always say never to pigeonhole anybody. So we never want to pigeonhole ourselves as in, oh, I'll never be good at this because of this thing. And we never want to pigeonhole anybody else, because on paper, someone who's a very high SC, which S is like steady and stable, and C is for conscientious or correctness. On paper, those would be the accountants and the CPAs and the architects and stuff like that. Yet, I worked with an agent in Seattle who consistently was hitting 110 to 125 units a year, back to back to back to back, who's a screaming high SC. And it on paper should never have worked, but he had what it took, right? And he adapted. So in those DISC behavioral assessments, there is natural and adaptive, and we can't go too deep into that right now. And yet we all have a natural style and adaptive style, and we can modify ourselves in the adaptive style for a while, but usually under stress or over time, we snap back to that natural style. So I will throw out, a quick plug, by the way, is so when it comes to the DISC behavioral assessments, I do a number of DISC workshops for teams and corporations. They brought me in to come into a department or to a team or to a small business, and we'll do a DISC for all the staff members. We do it for all the staff members. We'll bring a printed handout to the meeting. We explain what it is. We do a very interactive exercises where they get to work with each other and understand more about each other. So that's something I love to do, because it's very universal. It's not just a real estate thing. It's for anybody in the sales force.
Yeah, and once they discover, their test results or which style that reflects them, it's easier, I think, to understand where to go from there, because you might be not knowing what you don't know, right? Like, you don't know what you don't know. And sometimes you know what you don't know too, but once you know something, then you can start building, maybe your communication style, or leaning into your strengths, or avoiding your weaknesses. Like for me, it's paperwork. I can do it, but I really don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I sometimes miss the specific details that someone on the other side of the spectrum, wow, on the other side of the quadrant would not miss it, because they're detail oriented. And so I lean in heavily on transaction coordinator and operational system, people that are really, really good at that. Have you seen agents that learn about their style and then they're able to lean into that strength, and it really just boosts their career?
Absolutely. So if we go into some more quadrants here, there is unconscious incompetence. So unconscious incompetence is you don't know what you don't know, right? You're not good at something, but you're not aware you're not good at it. The next level is conscious incompetence. So you're not good at it, but at least now you know you're not good at it. So maybe someone's not communicating very well, but they don't realize it. Then they realize, I'm not connecting with people, but now I'm aware of it. So a lot of times, once they get into DISC, understanding behaviors, and we'll get into language patterns and the language of sales, all that kind of stuff, then it's what we call conscious incompetence. So they're aware of it. They're aware that they're not good at it. Then it is conscious competence. Conscious competence means I'm working really hard to be really good at it. Okay. And then the last is unconscious competence. I'm really good at it, but I don't even have to think about it. Right. So I know that I might have made that a little messy, but basically it is I usually, once they understand their style and other people's styles, then at the next meeting, the next open house, someone walks in and in their head, they're going, oh, they're talking faster. Are they a D? Oh no, they look up to the left. Are they futuristic? They're doing this. Oh, what's their speech pattern? Should I speed down? Should I slow up? Look them in the eye. And they're thinking really hard about how to connect. And over time of being aware, every time you walk into a meeting, the people you talk to, your spouse, your partner, your kids, another open house, a sales meeting, another board meeting, you start thinking about it and you start matching and mirroring. Then over time, you're going to start naturally doing it without thinking about it. You're naturally going to meet someone. If they talk a little slower, you're naturally going to slow down. If someone hears a little louder, you're naturally going to speak up a little bit without thinking about it. So it takes work. In the beginning, you're thinking about it all the time. Over time, it'll become natural, and that's when you get in with the flow.
Yeah, exactly. You always start and it's challenging, and then as you just continue fighting that battle and learning and growing, eventually it becomes, second nature, and it comes naturally to you, and then you're just humming. And so besides the DISC, I've taken several other behavioral assessments like the predictive index, the Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, and there's several others like StrengthsFinder. Do you think these tools help people with self-awareness, or do some of them maybe over-label themselves with them? Because I know I've taken all the ones I can think of. I don't want to overanalyze it, but sometimes it could get a little confusing with you're like overthinking it.
I agree. I think great leaders are great simplifiers. And, I believe in, having, one or two of these and kind of going off of that. You can take, like you mentioned, there's half a dozen. I would say 90% of them, they say the same thing, just in a different way. So, there's other ones out there that are maybe a little more in depth. Yet, one thing I like about John Maxwell is sometimes people will read John Maxwell books and they'll go, man, his stuff is so simple. The 5 steps of this or the 7 steps of that. He makes it so simple. Yeah, that's why people do it. If you make it simple, people do it. DISC might be on the simpler side of some of these assessments, but I think people understand it better. And if you understand it, they're going to adjust and do it more. So I think there's more complicated ones, but I think DISC is a really good, it's just one of the best foundations. The Strength Finders, I think, is really good to, another thing I do is I help people identify what is their central purpose, or what is their life statement, and going through, identifying your values or going through a Strength Finder. Some of those words are great things to plug into identifying what is your life statement.
Yeah, and I think a lot of agents can personally use those insights to improve their business, from the way that they initially approach people to their lead generation strategy based on their personality type. And I know Mike talks a lot about, and I've heard it from other people at Amherst Madison, that you want to constantly connect with people, doing the things that you enjoy, the things that you like, that you're passionate about. Oh, and by the way, I do real estate. It's connecting with people in a way that you would naturally connect with them anyway. And so do you have any ideas or any examples where you've seen agents use their personality type and maybe their results to one of these behavioral assessments to directly affect their lead gen?
Well, I'll touch base on, doing what works for you. So for an example, recently there was a client, and I said, okay, what do you enjoy doing? We enjoy mountain biking. We go mountain biking up in the foothills. Great. I'm going to go mountain biking with like 20 guys. Awesome. Do those guys know you do real estate? He goes, no. We just go up and we just ride. It's taboo to talk business while you're riding. It's like, okay, great. So what we came up with is we talked about, he wears vests and stuff. So we got a vest with his company logo and stuff on it. So he went up, they were out mountain biking. He had, XYZ, realty on here, and he's mountain biking. And buddy says, oh, do you work there? And he goes, no, that's actually my real estate team. Really? I didn't know he's in real estate. Well, I don't talk real estate when I'm mountain biking. Oh, really? Well, my wife and I, we just had another kid. We're thinking about getting a bigger home. And so he just found a way to market within the people that he like. There's it doesn't have to do with disc, but just has to do with what you like. There's another gal out there. What's her number one lead generation is she loves dogs. So what does she do? She doesn't go to bars. She doesn't go to, a chamber of commerce meeting. She goes to dog parks, right? If you've ever been to a dog park, what do you do? You let your dog go and you stand there with the other people and start talking. So she has a route. She knows like all the 20 dog parks in the area. She goes to different dog parks. 90% of her business that come from BSing with people at a dog park. And one thing that she does is people stress out about when they have a listing, strangers coming into the house and their pets freaking out. So she says, all right, so during your open house, or if we know someone's going to show the house, you can take your dog to XYZ kennel. I have an agreement with them and I'll pay for it. They say, you'll do that? Yeah. She's giving them so much business. They give it to her for free. They give it to her for free because she gives them so much business. She has her banner up there, so she pays for the banner. So I know this is kind of a totally left-hand turn, but what I'm saying is find out what you like. Find out what you like and double down on it. Oh, if you're in real estate, you like to drink wine. Hey, surprise. Great, you do a wine tasting once a month, but you do it to different people every single month. So find what you like and double down on it. And let people know what you do without pushing it. And when that life-changing, event comes, they're going to reach you out. The other thing I'll say really quick is a lot of the top producers I see out there, you talk about, they got a big sphere of influence. This is what I've discovered. They have become the center of influence. So if they're just part of the big circle, they're part of the center of the circle. So if someone wants to know about real estate, they call you. They want to know who's a good veterinarian in town, they call you. Who is a good massage therapist in town? They call you. Where do I get my car fixed? They call you, right? When you become the center of influence and people are calling you instead of going to chat, that's when you're going to build an empire.
Yeah, those are all really great examples. And I think that's a great lesson, is that focus on what you enjoy doing. You're going to do it more. It's not going to feel like work. If you're an extrovert, you're probably going to thrive in networking environments. If you're not the most extroverted person, you're more introverted, analytical, maybe you're really good at systems. Maybe you can build systems that other people would never think of or develop. If you're a relationship person, excelling with referrals and focusing on building those relationships that mean a lot to you already. And so I think a lot of people, they know exactly what they should do, but they just still don't do it. So I want to talk about self-sabotage and the internal barriers that we create that keep us from success. So why do you think people avoid the activities that actually make them money?
We have a caveman brain. We have a caveman brain. And what do I mean by that is caveman was safe in the cave. They're safe in the cave. And if they go outside the cave, there's man-eating saber-toothed tigers out there that are going to eat them up. So the brain, the caveman brain is all about survival. So the caveman brain says, don't go out there because it's dangerous and you'll get eaten up and die. We have to keep mankind and our species going. So you have to stay where it's safe and stay inside the cave. Even though they got to leave the cave to go eat and to survive, the caveman brain wants to survive. So we still have a caveman brain. Whenever it's like lead generating, I got to get outside my comfort zone to make the call. I got to get outside my comfort zone and do social media. I don't like social media. It's uncomfortable. I got to go network. I got to go to the Kiwanis, to Chamber of Commerce, to the BNI, whatever it is. I'm uncomfortable. The brain doesn't like being uncomfortable. We still have a caveman brain that thinks they're saving us by keeping us comfortable. Hey, I'm saving you. Don't make the call. Don't go to the event because it's uncomfortable. I'm keeping you safe so we can continue to procreate and keep mankind alive.
Yeah. And I've seen a lot of agents, they procrastinate prospecting, or they procrastinate lead gen, or they procrastinate something that they're just uncomfortable with. And then months pass by and they're wondering, why don't I have a pipeline? Why don't I have the success that I expected by now? I've been in real estate for 6 months now. Where are all these deals? And it's not about how long you've been in it. It's about how much you get done while you're doing it. Overcoming those fears, those obstacles, the excuses, the voice in your head that tells you, don't make the call, don't pick up the phone, just click the remote and watch TV, or whatever, because it's freedom. Like this is one of the most independent and free roles I've ever been in. And I have a sales background, so I've had probably more flexibility than most people because I've been really successful in it. And even then, I have to remind myself not to be that caveman, like, because it's easy to fail. It's very easy. Like, you can wake up and do nothing, and you don't have to do anything to fail.
Yeah, that's the thing about entrepreneurs is we chose being entrepreneurs for a reason. We don't like people telling us what to do, including ourselves. So freedom is great, but freedom can be dangerous. And I tell people all the time, like, being an entrepreneur in industries like this, it is either going to be the best paying, hardest working job you ever had, or it's going to be the worst paying, easiest job you ever had. So you get into something like real estate, lending, MLM, any other kind of entrepreneurial type business, you need to go in with your eyes open and know that you're going to be putting in the work, and you're putting in the work for yourself. As real estate agents, we tell renters all the time, hey, everybody is paying a mortgage. You're paying yours or somebody else's. Let me help you buy into your first home. Well, everybody's building a business. You're building yours or somebody else's. So, you're willing to put in the work before. Put the work in for yourself now. Just go in open-minded, knowing what it's going to take. It's getting into the action. It's not hope and want and a dream. What you hope it more than anybody else. Hope's not a business plan. You got to create that plan. You need that plan, and you got to put into action. And if you need accountability, then you need to get that 4-letter word, accountability, and get that as well, right? If you know yourself and you know you're not doing it, then you need to get that help and support, and do whatever it takes to make it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that some agents, they get really close to success and then they self-sabotage right before they have a breakthrough, or they give up right before they got to that goal that they were about to hit. And they, maybe it was weeks, maybe it was months, maybe it was days. I think that sometimes it's not necessarily about how long you're doing something. It's about developing yourself to be the person you need to be, your identity, to be a successful person, whether you're closing transactions or not. Keep showing up. Don't self-sabotage. Don't talk yourself into negative mindset. And then just keep persisting. Just keep showing up. Take it day by day if you have to. And I think that's what I want to discuss next, is how to rewrite this behavior. Because a lot of people in their mindset, they're already in a place that's not healthy. It's negative self-talk. It's, I can't do this. It's, why do I have to do this? If someone wants to change their behavior pattern or their mindset, where would you recommend they start?
All right, here's a couple different things. So, you mentioned reframing. We got to reframe a few things. Here's one thing. So let's say, for an example, let's say you have lead generation time, in your calendar. We all know the definition, of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different result. If every time you look at your phone and you see lead gen and you go, lead gen. If that's the energy you feel, I believe everything's about energy. If that's the energy you get, something has to change. So number one, I've encouraged people to, if that says lead gen time, let's say your goal is you want to get that cabin up at Lake Tahoe. Great. I have one client, they renamed theirs, they reframed it as their cabin calls. So now instead of lead gen, it's like their cabin calls. Now they're excited to do it. Another person, they want to be debt free, then this is their financial freedom calls, right? So rename it. It could be the same thing, your bank account. Instead of saying, oh, here's my savings account. Great. Here's my financial freedom savings account. If you want to retire early, this is my family fun account. If you want to take you and the kids to Disney. Here's the other thing. We talk about, and this has been mentioned lots of times in numerous books over the last decades, but it's kind of what they call be, do, have. So a lot of times people think have, do, and be. So they think, you know what? if I have what that agent have over there, I could do what they do and I could be a top producer as well. It's backwards, right? So it's not have do be, unless I don't know, unless you're from Denver, have do be, right? So it is, thank you for laughing. So instead of have do be, you need to think be do have. Who do I need to be, or who do I need to become? It has a lot to do with the mindset. So who do I need to be or become? And then what do I need to do to have what they have, right? So if you say, hey, I want to be a marathon runner, great. Some people say, well, if I had a body like that, I could do what they do and I could be a marathon runner as well. No, reverse it. Who do I need to be or become, and what do I need to do to have the body and the trophies like a marathon runner does? So it's not have, it is who do I need to be or become? What do I need to do to have what I want to have?
Yeah, I agree with that. And that's the whole concept of the Callis mindset is who do I need to become? What kind of mindset do I need to build in order to overcome and become someone who I haven't before? Someone who has the capacity to do things that maybe I couldn't do 10 years ago. And I know a lot of people, they talk about motivation. To me, it's all about discipline. Like discipline will beat motivation any day because motivation it's not forever. It's, you're motivated to do something for this reason, but then when you do it, then it's gone. If you become a disciplined person and you create, like you said, those goals, and you create who you need to be in order to achieve those things, you will get out of it what you need. What systems would you advise someone to stay consistent long term with the right mindset? Like what are the behaviors or the systems we can implement today, tomorrow to consistently stay in a positive mindset?
I love that. So a lot of times the anxiety, comes from uncertainty. So we need to have more clarity of what we're doing, why we're doing it, and more clarity of our life. So I do believe in the power of a strong calendar. And people say, all right, Derek, I need help organizing my calendar. I say, great. Have you created a business plan? And they say, well, no, I haven't. Okay, if we haven't created a business plan, then we can't create a calendar and what you need to do to achieve that. All right, help me with a business plan. All right, have you created a life plan? No, I haven't. Never even heard of one. Okay, if you don't have a life plan, then we can't create a business plan to help fund and support that life plan. So, I think people spend more time planning a 2-week vacation than they do planning their own life plan. So it is, what do you want and why do you want it? So I believe for you to figure out what to be disciplined on every day and what that business is going to look like to fund that perfect life, what do you want it to look like? And once again, we're all different. What do you want your business to look like? Your finances, faith, fitness, family, friends, all those F words in there. What do you want it to look like? So what do you want it to look like? What do you want it to be? Now I know what to do. So I think a lot of people, they're kind of winging it every day. They're like, I don't know, I was in the parking lot the other day. I saw this styrofoam cup being blown around in the wind, just flopping all over the place, going nowhere. I think a lot of people do that because they have no path or plan. So they don't have the clarity. So I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what's going to happen. I have uncertainty. The mind automatically brings all that anxiousness. And the other thing I would say is values, knowing your values. I mean, studies have shown one of the greatest sources of internal drama, internal stress, is when your outside actions do not match your inside values. So if you have certain values and you're not acting on them or against them, you're not in alignment, your brain and body knows it and it will punish you for it. So what are your values? What does your life plan look like? You need to identify those things first. Now you can create that business and business plan and what are my habits and activities. And people's lives change. Sometimes you're single, sometimes you're divorced, you have kids, you don't have kids, you got a promotion, you're unemployed, life change. So creating a life plan is not something you do at 18 and you set it and forget it. It's something that you need to consistently, go back to. It's a living, breathing document on how to change it and modify it. So I think one is, I want to be rich. Okay, why? I want to make my family happy. Why? You want to do this? Why? You need clarity. So I think you just, instead of following what other people are blindly saying, find out what you want, what are your values, what's that life plan. Now you can build the business around it.
Yeah, and for anyone listening, these are golden nuggets. I mean, this is really the foundation of what you could do personally to get where you want to go and to get there in a very purposeful way, making some small shifts to big shifts if you need to. And I want to, for our last topic, I want to shift the conversation to something a little bit more personally reflective. Over the course of your working career with agents, entrepreneurs, nationwide, you've seen thousands of people. How has your own mindset evolved from when you first started to where you are today?
Great question. So I have had literally tens of thousands of coaching consultations where I've gotten to see behind the curtain what's really going on with people. And number one, I would say I have become more open-minded, because, I'm not a woman. I don't know what struggles they go through. And now through coaching people, I understand some of the struggles they have of being a woman, of being a mom, and some of those expectations. I have coached with people anywhere and everywhere of any kind of demographic or a background that you can think of, and I've gotten to see behind the curtain. So I've become a lot more open-minded of where everybody else is coming from. Sometimes you grow up a certain way, or you only see a certain thing. You're kind of like this. So it's just kind of understand how other people think and process. I know what my voice in my head says. It's like after coaching with people, it's like, really, your voice says that? Really, you go through that struggle too? Really, you do that? So it's just the experience has been helped to validate some feelings of mine, to look at things differently, to where, I've learned more from these tens of thousands of consultations than I've probably ever given to somebody else. So I have grown 10 times more than I probably would have if I wasn't on this coaching, teaching, training path. So I'm better than I'd probably be if I wasn't in this realm. I've learned more from all of you than you probably have ever learned from me. And I would say, sometimes, we all have good times, bad times, good moments, bad moments, everything else. And sometimes when I'm down, or I feel like sleeping in, or I want to have that second bag of chips at home, it is like, Derek, what if your coaching clients were watching you right now? Right? So one of your value words was integrity. How integrity is it for you to talk about, your morning routine and you're sloughing it off? You're talking about your nighttime routine. You're talking about, sticking to it and the motivation no matter what, and gritting it out and making your calls. I make calls too. And it's like, that has been, hey, if they were watching you, what would they think of you? And it's like, well, damn it, I got to earn their respect. People say, what's the hardest thing about being a coach? That's doing what I tell people to do. That's the hardest part. So I've probably grown more, bigger, better, faster by being in this realm, by learning from everybody else and challenging myself because I challenge everybody else. So I'm so glad I'm in this field. I'm a better person. I can tell you for sure I'm a better husband from all these years of coaching, because I've learned to listen more, right? As a high D, I like to just say what I think and do it my way. So I've learned to slow down. I've learned to listen as a husband, and I'm a better dad. I'm a better dad from being a coach, to where instead of with my daughter saying, well, you should do this, you should do that. True coaching is about not telling people what to do. It's about asking questions for them to self-discover what is right for them. So, luckily I got into coaching early as my daughter was younger. And instead of telling her what to do, I would ask her questions. You know, what is it you want? Where do you feel you are right now? What are some options you could do? What's another option you could do? So what do you think of the pros and cons of that? Which one will you do? And then she'd come up with an answer. And, and over time she figured me out. She goes, Dad, is that what you do all day? Right. And my wife, she figured out too. She goes, don't try that Jedi mind trick stuff on me. I'm your wife. So I became a better husband. I became a better dad for sure by learning more about these things.
Yeah, I can imagine with the tens of thousands of conversations with all the different circumstances and people asking for advice from personal to professional to you name it. I know for me, I never really thought I would start a podcast. And then I started thinking about how I wanted to create my mindset over the last 15 years or so. And I was thinking like, well, there's other people out there that probably have some similarity and I want to share their story. And so just to hear from some of these, people in different avenues, different careers, different experiences, the ups and downs, it really brings like a secondary experience, like where you could listen to those stories and take note, mental notes or, physical notes. And one of the things that I've taken from today's conversation is that success in real estate and really any industry isn't just about strategy or tactics. It's about behavior. It's about the habits you build, the discipline you develop, and the level of self-awareness you're willing to bring to your own growth. And the people who truly succeed in this business, they're not better than anyone else. They're not just good marketers or negotiators. They've built the mindset and the behavioral patterns and disciplines to help them continue moving forward when most people quit. So Derek, tell me more about your coaching program and where people can go to find you online.
Yeah, thanks. So like I said, over the last 15 years, I've had over 30,000 coaching consultations with, business owners and real estate agents of all different industries and brands and brokerages across the country and even internationally. So one thing I specialize in is one-on-one coaching because I feel that's where you make, the biggest difference and the greatest difference. And also I believe to coaching to the whole person, not just in business and the metrics and marketing, but also to what's going on, personally and the life planning and everything else as well. So I'd love an opportunity just to meet with someone. It's coffee, Zoom, whatever it is, just to, get to know each other better, see if it's a good fit. So, you can reach out to DerekSchenck.com. That's DerekSchenck.com. And you can, click on the link for a Zoom consultation and we'll just have a conversation. That's it. No sales, just a conversation. And I'll tell you more about what we do and see if we're a good fit and see how I can help.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Derek. And I can attest to that. I think Derek is one of the top coaches I've ever met, and I've been surrounded with coaches most of my life. So much value, so many great lessons, and ways to just polish and level yourself up to make sure you're doing the right things to see the success that you're looking for. So go visit DerekSchenck.com and connect with Derek. Thanks again for coming on today, sharing your insights about your experience with us. And for anyone listening, remember, success isn't just how you learn what you don't know. It's not just about what you do know either. It's about who you become in the process. And thanks again, Derek, for joining today.
All right. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate you very much.
This is a Callis Mindset with Ken and Callis, and we'll see you on the next episode.